Darling Saves Christmas: The Continuing Adventures of Darling the Curly-Tailed Reindeer. Written by Cheryl Campbell, illustrated by Steve McGinnis. Hi, boys and girls. I hope you enjoyed the story about my adventures with Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. It was so much fun. When you're done with my story, ask Mom and Dad if you can visit www.raindow.com, where you can learn more about what I'm doing and even write to me. Your friend, Darling. The night before Christmas, Santa was sighing. The sleigh was all ready, but all those planes flying. He knew that the reindeer would guide them just fine, but would the planes see them with only darkness behind? As Santa was worrying about that detail, little Darling pranced up with a pail on her tail. As she passed by, her pail caught the light. The reindeer all saw it and said with delight, "That pail could do it. It could help the planes know that our sleigh full of toys was passing below." Then Santa smiled. He liked the way that the pail would give light to the back of the sleigh. The sleigh had a platform where Darling would be, and the glow from her pail would let everyone see. So little Darling, with the curl in her tail, stood on the platform with her bright, shiny pail. As the reindeer took off with the sleigh piled high, Santa felt hopeful, and he let out a sigh. He hoped that the planes could see Darling's pail that was swinging so freely from the curl in her tail. When the first plane passed by, Santa watched with delight as it swiftly flew onward, warned by the light. Just like the caboose on old railroad trains, Darling's bright pail alerted the planes. As Darling held on to the back of the sleigh, she smiled as Santa guided the way. At first it was scary. As they flew high, all she could see were the stars in the sky. She began to feel lonely and miss Mom and Dad, but when she looked at Santa, she didn't feel sad. Yet she did worry when he first disappeared down a chimney so tall all she saw was his beard. After moments of waiting, Darling was worried, but she smiled with happiness when up the chimney he scurried. So they kept on their journey all through the night. She almost fell once when she forgot to hold tight. Yet Darling was happy to be on the sleigh as she thought of the children waking up Christmas Day. She took a deep breath when they flew away from rooftop to rooftop as they went on their way to all the houses of good girls and boys where Santa so gladly brought them some toys. Sometimes she noticed that children were peeking from under their covers, though no one was speaking. The houses were quiet as Santa would come down the chimneys with toys that promised them fun. The night was a long one, and Darling grew weary as her young eyes began to get bleary. But then she remembered the light from the pail that was shining so brightly from the curl in her tail. Without that bright light, the planes might not see the sleigh and the reindeer or even Santa, you see. It was up to young Darling to provide the light that would warn all the planes throughout the dark night. Still, Darling got sleepy. Then suddenly below, she saw their North Pole village sparkling with snow. The elves were all waiting with great expectation. When they saw the sleigh appear, they smiled with elation. The North Pole got active as the sleigh came in sight. They knew it was a happy end to the very long night. When Santa stepped off of his now empty sleigh, he kissed little Darling, who saved Christmas Day. There we go. That was Darling Saves Christmas.